there's power in community and connection. And I think the more we do that, the more we get to learn different perspectives. And so even if it isn't learning a new concept or a new skill, I'm learning different ways that people set up their business, or different ways that people market, or different ways that people build relationships. And those conversations are valuable.
Turn this up, turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality.
Hi, I'm Paul Faronbi, aka IncrediPaul, and welcome to IncrediPaul Leadership, where we learn how to become the most incredible version of ourselves by learning from each other. If you're just listening to this episode, you can also watch it on YouTube. Regardless if you're listening or watching it, I really appreciate your support. Today, I have the honor of having Brittany Johnson on the show. She's a solopreneur, educator, poet, foodie, puppy mom, suspense reading novel girl. A lot of things. I know we're going to dive into it. But during the pandemic, she placed faith over fear, and she left her role as a school leader to start her business that empowers leaders to show up with clarity and confidence in their purpose and impact. And I thought that was incredible, so I wanted to have her on the show. But Brittany, how about you introduce yourself the way you would do it?
Well, hello, and thank you for having me on the podcast, Paul. You did a great intro. That sums up a lot of things, but I am Brittany Johnson. My company, I'm the CEO and founder of Solopreneur Consulting, and I love to say that I help people deepen in two things: their purpose and in their impact. And what I say by purpose is people truly loving their why, and living in their work. And what I mean by impact is the legacy that they want to build. And how I do that is in various ways, which I'm sure that we'll get into. But
Yeah.
I love working with people across the world in various industries doing great, impactful things. And you hit it right on the head. Puppy mom, I'm a school educator, originally from New York, was in Philly for 13 years. It's
Oh,
like my
wow.
adult home. And now I'm a DMV girl. I've been here for a little over a year. So excited to be on here with you and to chat.
I'm really excited to have you on the show, that you take the time. I know with everything you're doing, you're really busy, you're traveling, and it's incredible the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that, I know you said you're a school educator. You've lived all across the Northeast. I got kind of the East Coast girly, if you will. Were there some key transitions in your life that kind of led you to where you are right now?
Oh yeah. I I tell people all the time my journey has been one of going back to the drawing board.
Hmm.
I'm a like quote that one because that's going to be a book one day and I'm going to put out
Yeah, I
so nobody
like
else
it.
take it. But I in college I went to the University of Virginia. I'm a big wahoo down in
Hmm.
Charlottesville, and I was an architecture major. And as I moved through my third and fourth year, I realized that I liked it, but I didn't love it. And so that
Hmm.
was one of those first critical, pivotal moments of my life where I had to go back to the drawing board, literally, and ask myself, okay, Brittany, well, what do you love to do? What are you good at? And like, what does the world need? Now, I might
Hmm.
not have asked myself those questions in that way at that time, but this is me in hindsight now reflecting. And it kind of led me on this completely different path. And so it wasn't architecture that I pursued after college. I wound up getting into teaching and I
Oh,
applied for Teach for America and I was placed in Philadelphia. God always is purposeful, and Philly was seventh on my list. And I tell people all the time,
oh, really? Seventh on your list?
seven. And I tell people all the time, I said, did they not see New York, DC? I had no family in Philly. I really didn't have any ties in Philly. It
Okay.
was not on my radar at all. It just happened to be a Northeast city.
Okay.
But yeah, I was told that I was going to be teaching secondary math in Philadelphia.
Wow.
And who would have known 13 years later, I would have had this amazing home and career that evolved and changed for that time in a city that
Wow.
I was like, what? Um,
It's
and
funny
then
how
as
that works.
listen, as I got through, the pandemic, so the
Mhm.
pandemic hit, and for many people, it was a time to really step back. And for me, certainly was true to say, okay, am I aligned right now with where I want to be in my life? Is this how I
Mhm.
want to live my life? And, I was a school leader. I coached school leaders across the country, and I did that for 13 years. And I was sort of like woke up during that time period and said, I'm not sure if I'm completely fulfilled and happy. And I love my kids
Mhm.
and I love my school community. And I'm still very deeply rooted in that work. But there
Mhm.
was something about the life and the routine and the way that career was setting me up that just didn't feel aligned right now in that moment. So
Okay.
that's the second drawing board. I had to go
Well,
back and I had to say, okay, well, if you're not fulfilled, that means that there's something else. There's bigger impact that you can make, and you got to find it. So, Brittany, what do you love? What are you good at? And what does the world need?
mhm.
So I started my business, and here I am, two and a half. This summer will be officially 3 years
Wow.
of running my business. That has also changed and evolved.
Okay.
First year was like virtual assisting because I thought that was an easy in. And
Yeah.
then I said, I like it, but I don't love it. There's a theme here.
Yeah.
Again, I'm writing a
Mhm.
book about this. Will be a book.
Yes. Looking
And
forward to the book.
yes, yes. And it has been those moments of pausing and reflecting and getting really clear about what feels good, what doesn't, what feels aligned, what doesn't, what do I want to be true for myself, and what do I not want to be? And how do I make the moves, as scary and sometimes uncertain as they are, to get to that place? That has been the journey thus far.
That's really incredible, especially what you were just saying there as you wrapping things up with the reflection and pausing. And I feel like that's something that we don't do a lot because everything is so fast paced. We're going one thing to another and we're doing things. And we don't often ask ourselves, do we even like what we're doing? Or is it impactful? Is it purposeful? All these different things. And until you take the time to pause and reflect, you're really never going to know.
Yeah. I think when we think of when I ask people, and this is even like young adults to
Mhm.
now adults, like, what does it mean to be a great leader?
Mhm.
And one of the it's you're courageous, you're really strategic, you're
Mhm.
self-aware, right? People kind of like roll off. So you're honest, you're
Mhm.
thoughtful. They come up with a list of things.
Yeah.
Reflective is often not in the top 10 for me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that people tell me. And
Mhm.
I have found my own personal growth as a person, as a leader, as a business person, and working with so many leaders in various capacities, that the power of being reflective and very introspective and self aware are really underrated, like values and skills of being a leader. And I think we need more of that. And I think the pressure that I have found a lot of leaders have felt is we got to keep going. We got to keep going. There's this urgency to push, to be bigger, to be better, to hit goals, to hit metrics. And when you're on that route and on that road and path, where do you give yourself, and then ultimately modeling that for then your team, to really step back and just like take like rest and to pause and to be reflective about the business, about yourself? There's layers to it. I think we need more of that.
Absolutely agree, especially with yourself, your business, and the people that you're working with, whether you have a team or contractors or different people that you collaborate with. I think there's different levels to it that we, like you mentioned, we don't do it enough. Like it's not in the top 10 of what most people think of when they think of leadership, but it's hard to be an effective leader if you're not reflecting. And I know for myself personally, as someone that I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, is that even as you're reflecting to make sure that you're celebrating the small wins you have along the way, because it's
Yeah.
really easy to be like, oh, that happened, move on to the next thing, on the next thing, or like, oh, this didn't go well. These are all the things I need to do well going forward. But if you don't take the time to celebrate the seemingly small wins along the way, it can be discouraging.
Yeah. Yeah. We, by nature, are like forced to get really into the weeds. Even now, we've just started the new year. We're in 4 days, and I can already see myself as well as other folks. They're like, goals, hitting the ground, running. We gotta go.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, pause, take a step back for a moment. Um, like, how can we get a little bit more curious? How can we get more reflective? How can we zoom out a little bit to really see things on a bigger picture that's a skill that is just as important as also getting in the weeds and executing and delegating. And those are important, but it is a balance. And so reflection allows us to step back and to create alignment and cohesion. It allows us to make some pretty powerful decisions personally, professionally, and allows everybody to really get on the same page, making some strong commitments about how they want to move forward. So, yeah, the power of reflection is definitely something that I want to work with leaders and teams and organizations more in as we move into 2025. It's time. It's time we reflect a little bit more.
It is time to reflect for sure.
Yeah.
So really leading into that, what you do with solopreneur, like you talked about wanting to do more self reflection, I guess, what is a lot of the stuff that you're focused on with different clients or people that reach out to you?
Yeah. So I originally, and I always, at the beginning, I said, I help people deepen in their purpose and impact, right? And so it's like, okay, well, what does that look like? So there's really 3 buckets of ways that I work with my clients. My
Mhm.
clients are amazing, and they're in various industries doing just dynamic things. One big bucket is I do a lot of leadership coaching and development training. And so that could be on the school level, it could be on a corporate level, and it really varies across various topics. Another big bucket is around like project management and helping organizations and teams really execute a project as big or as small as it needs to be with, clear roles and responsibilities, clear deliverables and deadlines, just clarity about what's happening and really backwards planning, which I have to say, being an educator, we are backwards planning pros out here. And so I'm putting like a little side pin note here, but I will say I didn't realize transitioning from being in a school to now running my own business, how many skills being an educator really gifted me with that allowed me to be successful in running my business. There are lots of things that I'm like, I just naturally did that as a school leader or as a
Oh,
teacher
wow.
or as a principal that I don't see others doing. And I'm wow, thanks being an educator. Look at this pathway.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
I'm curious, what are like a couple of those things that you felt like helped you transition to a business?
Yeah, I mean, the ability to backwards plan and strategic, like, I put together curriculums, I put together unit plans, I
Oh,
put
wow.
together scopes and sequences. Like that's one thing of like putting something together pretty large scale helps
Mhm.
me with strategic planning and really helping businesses craft out a business structure and plan. Like educators are organized, we have systems and structures and processes. And then the
Uh,
other is around like presentation skills, like,
I don't
you
know.
know, and I would say this stemmed from actually being in the classroom was you got 30 kids of various learning levels and energy levels and development levels that you gotta get to learn, but also
Yeah.
foster rapport and engagement and care. Yeah, as adults, we need that too. And
Mhm.
so it has helped me a lot in terms of how I put professional development together, how I actually like tell my story or publicly speak in front of people. I go right back to the classroom. It's very similar things. Those are definitely like 2 big buckets. And then the third is managing like people management. And you're a school leader and you gotta work with families, you have to support kids, you have to support staff to support kids. Like there's a lot that goes in that as well. So yeah, it's been such an interesting, I've been enjoying that, making those connections as they've come up.
That's really incredible how those two things that really lined up, even like we were talking about going to the drawing board a couple of times, from being in architectural school and literally going to the drawing board, to when you were in the classroom and the things that you learned from the backwards plan, which, yeah, I didn't realize that, like, all that stuff, like, I have no idea what it takes to create a curriculum or to teach students any of those things. But to keep them engaged, I feel like that's much harder to do than when you're speaking in front of a group of adults and all the other things that you're doing with leadership development now.
You know,
Maybe not.
sometimes I ask myself, I say, what's I think there's a lot of similarities, and
Really?
even as adults, our attention spans and the way we need to engage and the types of learners we're all various learners, and like we're
That's,
just evolved children, and so I have
that's
found
true.
how I present in front of adults sometimes very similar. You're still going to get
Oh,
the
really?
animated, bubbly, but also, like there's some structure, some flow and organization and engagement. You're going to turn and talk. We do it with the kids. Adults are going to turn and talk. They're going to stop and jot. And I might not call them those things, but it's still happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I can see. I guess I didn't think about that. I guess there's a lot of similarities. So it was directly preparing you, those 13 years, you're directly preparing you for what you're doing now.
Who would have known? And on each one, I heard you say, and even this like came up. I was like, oh yeah, as an architecture major, I had a drawing board, literally a drafting board.
You right?
In school, being an educator, I had my drawing board literally in front of the board, the projector, all the things. And so there's always been a drawing board somewhere now here. Now I'm like, where's my drawing board? I got to get like a big board or something around here to start like brainstorming and writing things
Oh
down.
yeah. Yeah. You gotta keep that drawing board analogy going for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I love it. It's like a metaphorical one now, but I want it actually in this phase to be literal. So
I
thank you for
literally,
that. And I'm leaving over here with some gems myself.
there you go. It's mutual. Love it. Absolutely love it. So with a lot of stuff you do in the leadership development space, I'm curious, like, how do you go about continuing to develop your own leadership?
Yeah. Um, so two things. I truly believe that we are continuous learners. To be a strong leader, to be a great human being, you always have to be learning. And how I do that is different depending upon the season. Like last year, I really got into like reading for development. And so I really dove into Atomic Habits. I dove
Mhm.
into Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and just
Mhm.
some other recommended books that were really instrumental in having me think differently about the world and the way of which I want to show up as a leader, as a person, like friend, all the things. And so those have been instrumental for sure. I'm always seeking different workshops. I probably could be better at it, but like if there's something that really piques my interest, why not check it out or go to a conference and
Mhm.
connect with new folks? There's power in community and connection, and I think the more we do that, the more we get to learn different perspectives. And so even if it isn't learning a new concept or a new skill, I'm learning different ways that people set up their business, or different ways that people market, or different ways that people build relationships, and those conversations are valuable, like, or super valuable, I should say. Like they are, I mean, those have been sometimes more important than a book that I've read. But so I think it's just balancing all of those things. I will say I read this book called Be the Unicorn, and it was
Ooh,
12 data driven habits of exceptional leaders. And
wow.
one of the ones was, I can't remember the category, but the way he described it is you always need to have a hobby. Like you should always be learning something. So what's your latest hobby? What's a new skill that you really want to get good at? And there were like three questions that in interviews this man would ask applicants. And I remember when I read that, I was like, like a new hobby right now. So we're like, what is the new skill I'm learning?
Yeah.
And let's go back to that. It stood out to me. And I think we need to be able to, like, what is a new hobby that we're learning in this season or that we want to try this season? What is a new skill that we want to sharpen or get better at? And I think we should be able to answer them. So, yeah.
Wow. I never even thought about that. I'll add that to my list of books. You said it was called Be the Unicorn?
Be the Unicorn. It is, I have it right here.
Oh, you do? Awesome.
It's a bright blue book.
Nice. Be the Unicorn.
Yes. Yes. And it's nothing like rocket science here. A lot of the things make sense. But what I truly love about the way that it's written is it really breaks it down into what does this look like and what doesn't it look like, and gives some examples of real great leaders, exceptional leaders, and the
Wow.
actions that they're doing to actually embody that unicorn habit.
Wow. That's really powerful.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
And then even one thing I want to go back to one thing that you mentioned, like you're talking about how you develop your leadership with the community aspect and connecting with people. I think that's really critical because, yeah, you can learn a lot of stuff from books or with different seminars, but I think human connection is invaluable. The amount of stuff you can learn from meeting different people. And actually, that's how we met, was through the Colors of Her Success, the stuff you do with that community, really empowering minority women in corporate to be able to be successful, and you doing a incredible job just coordinating everything and your energy and everything. Because I know it was just random how we met while I was in the DMV area speaking. I was able to meet you along with Amia, the founder. So it was, yeah, just that aspect of a community and connection is really incredible.
It is. It is. And it's, because it hits on all of those. I hate saying soft skills because I find them to be quite strong skills. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you really got to you're putting yourself out there. And when you're building community, there is a level of vulnerability, there is a level of introspection, and there's a level of like, but also joy and love that people, they're not the like hard skills of like problem solving, and I'm data driven and I'm on like, so there is something so beautiful about community. I truly believe to do this work, to do the soulpreneur work, to be in purpose and impact, you can't do it alone. I do not think we are meant to be doing great things and building legacies in isolation. And so to find communities like the Colors of Her Success, and many others that are out there, is powerful. There's power in the numbers, and people that are coming together that are like-minded and that are passionate and seeking a similar energy or a similar experience. That's golden. It's priceless.
Absolutely priceless.
Yeah.
I guess, are there any other communities that maybe you or have been in the past or currently in that you feel have really empowered you with where you are right now?
Yeah. So there's definitely two that come to mind. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, well, there's a few. I mean, if obviously there's family, and then there's my friends. There's I would say one of them is my book club. Like, we have the Soul of Soul book club, and it is a community of Black and brown women who love to read, want to pick up reading as a hobby, want to get back into reading, and want to do it in a beautiful, safe, and joyful space. And so we've been doing that since the pandemic.
Wow.
It's grown. I think so this year, 2024, we just closed out with like book 28, 2029. And we read all BIPOC authors, various genres. And it's just, we have women across the country that come back. And sometimes it's like, I had a busy season, or this is a busy year. People know when they come back, it's like time has time hasn't gone by. We pick right back up, and we miss each other. We have a group chat to stay connected in the off months. But I believe that has been just so much joy, and it's also kind of given me a little step outside of work to really connect with great people. Um, I mean, that one I like so hold dear to my heart.
That's
There's,
amazing. Just the longevity of it too.
yeah, yeah. And I see your bookshelf in the back, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder if any of the books are from ones that we've read. I love that you
Maybe.
have a beautiful collection back there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, of course.
So that's really good. So with that, is there like, because I know you mentioned that the books that you're reading is more focused on BIPOC authors. Is there like a cadence to how often you're reading different books, like a few months, a month, or is it more like the community is like, this is what we're these are the books we're going to be reading for this year? Kind of just curious to how this community works. Like if it's open to if other people wanted to join, if it's kind of closed already.
Yeah, no, we are open. This is not one of those exclusive types of communities. On my website, www.thesoulempire.com, there's a page that has Soul of Soul Book Club, and you can go on and you can register. We are currently in the process of curating our 2025 list. So we read every other month. So our first book
Mhm.
will be in February, then April, so on and so forth.
Okay.
And so what we did last year for the first time is we actually listed out all the books that we were going to read, posted on
Oh
the
wow.
website, posted on our socials and our group chat. And people really loved having kind of the scope laid out for them. Of course, we're flexible, which is like, we don't know if we want to read this book anymore. This might not be, we're that's the type of organic environment that we create. But when we put it out, it really was great for people to see. So we're doing that the same right now. We actually sent out to our list uh, kind of what are the books that you would like to read. We have different genres, and people will be casting their vote. And so
Cool.
mid-January, we will be revealing on all of our
Ooh,
platforms our 2025 forecast.
awesome. So
Yeah,
by the
it's
time
super.
this episode airs, like this will already reveal like what the books you're reading.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So then that
Mhm.
means that for folks that are listening right after this, they need to just head on over to the website, register, look
Mhm.
at the list. And when you register, you don't have to come to all. You can come to whichever ones you want. You'll get the questions and all updates via email,
Awesome.
throughout the year, but there's no pressure to attend all of them.
Yeah, that's good. I love the way that you've approached it, and even like from doing the things a little bit differently last year versus this year as well. I think that's just a part of leadership is like adjusting and doing different things, because I'm sure you've seen it when you work with different leaders that if you're too rigid with your leadership, it can kind of throw some people off and you can't really learn or grow as much when you just keep doing the same thing.
Yep, yep. And again, I think that goes back. This is the theme,
This just
is pausing and reflecting. The
Mhm.
very last discussion that we had for December's book club, I took the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes to pause and say, let's reflect on this year's experiences. What books did we love? How did note that we rolled this year out a little differently? How did that feel?
Mhm.
And then what do you want to be true for how you experience book club next year? It's more than just the books that we read. The books, of
Like,
course, are important. That's like what we do. We read, we come together, we discuss. But why many people continue to come back is more than just, these are great books. It's the community. And
really,
so they have an experience there that makes them feel seen, or makes them feel safe, or makes them feel like they have an escape, whatever that reason is. And so I want to really make sure that we're pausing to reflect, is what we did this year and how you experienced book club aligned to how you want to experience it next year? What would you want to add? What would you want to tweak? And that is the power of reflection. And whether you're doing it individually or whether you're doing it collectively, you got to pause and you got to reflect to celebrate, like you said, but also be intentional and make some commitments to move forward in.
Yes, and intentionality is so key. I've really been more intentional the last few years because I realized that when you just allow life to happen to you, it doesn't. I would say for the most part, it doesn't lead to what you want. So
Mm.
until you're intentional, that's when you start to get the results, and you get to see the purpose and the soul behind everything that you want.
Mm. I saw what you did there. Saw what you
Mm.
did there with the soul. Come on
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm a punny guy. I mean, it's IncrediPaul leadership for a reason, so I always try to throw some fun in there for sure.
Of course, and I love the wittiness. I love it. I'm here for that energy.
Thank you, thank you. So we talked a lot about like kind of your transitions and what you do with your business and how you grow as a leader. I guess, Brittany, as a whole, like, is there anything you want the audience to know about you? Yeah, I'll just open that up.
Yeah. So much of where I am today I cannot not tell my story. I don't know if that made sense
Yeah,
without honoring the healing that I've had to do throughout my life. And it's we're never fully healed. So
yeah,
healing and continuing to be the best version of Brittany, of me, is so much part of my work. And when I think about what it means to be in this soulpreneur space, like it's more than, again, just the work that I'm doing, the marketing and the brand development and the leadership coaching and the project management. Yes, those are all great, but it is so much about this healing journey
yeah,
of growing, of moving through fears and limiting beliefs, of grieving, of loving and finding joy. Actually, so interesting, I had a conversation with somebody and she had said, I don't want to find joy, I want to create joy. And I was so inspired by that
that's
yesterday.
lovely. That's
And it's
wonderful.
like, you know the act of creating joy has been really hard for me in my
Great.
life, of healing
Yeah,
from pain and trauma,
yeah,
of
man.
navigating some really hard moments in life. But
Great.
all of those, while some, I can't say it's like I wish that they happened, but they have happened and there was a purpose. And it has
Yeah, yeah,
taken me to now where I am today. And I always want to make sure that I'm talking about that healing part. It is
yeah,
it is a
yeah.
part of my story, and it has led me to the person that I am today and the work that I love to do. So when I talk about soulpreneur and I'm talking about we doing the inner work, we're starting from the in to get to the out. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's because that's what I've had to do and will and continue to do in my life.
I love that you say that healing is a process because it truly is. But I think sometimes we want to be like, oh, we reached the goal, we're good, we checked the box, like I had to stop healing, like all that stuff. But it really, truly is a process, and it's something I walked through last year as well, 2024. I shared on the podcast, just walking through the process of ending a marriage is not the easiest thing to do with all so many other things going on. But I think it's really understanding like what that it is a process and trauma happens, pain happens, but obviously we don't want those things to happen, but it's how we respond to it, what we learn from it, and that can really fuel what we do in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything, I have to believe that everything is intentional, regardless of how painful or how disappointing or unexpected something is in life. And I've had many of those. And so
Mm.
I am a believer that God places circumstances and opportunities in your path, and it's there to teach you something about yourself. And each moment of like pain or what has felt like a setback or what has felt like an intense loss has actually been a reflecting pause moment for me to like sit down and really feel what I need, feel it all, hold it all, and ultimately move to this next evolution, like spiritually,
Right.
emotionally, professionally. Like it is, those moments have actually carried, they've been the catalyst to carry me there. Um, and so I always have to talk about soulpreneur, and where I am now is
The
an exact result, an immediate result of this ongoing healing journey. And it's a part of who I am. It's a part of my story. And I think we need to tell our stories more. There's been
the
people who have reached out to me that I haven't known and are just like, I love your story. Anytime you send a post, like, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Or, ooh, that happened to me. Or I experienced that. Or, your post made me keep going. And those are the sparks. That's the legacy. That's the impact that I also want to build. It's yes, I want to help my clients build amazing businesses or opportunities or communities, but I also really want people to feel seen and heard and know that they are worthy and valuable. That is so, we need more of that too.
Yeah, there's so many people that don't feel seen, don't feel heard. They just feel like a number or in like a C with everyone else. So the fact that you're doing that, really being intentional, making people feel seen and heard and sharing your story, that's something I've been more intentional about over the last year, but I was thinking about it more the last couple of years because maybe people on the podcast may not believe it, or people hear me speak, that I'm definitely more of an introverted people. I'm an ambivert, so I'm in the middle, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm more introvert leaning. That's how I recharge. So it takes a lot for me to share, like just more broadly share stories, but I've been learning as I share more, as I show the vulnerability, that it's able to connect with people. Uh, and I guess something I wasn't aware of with all the stuff I do with talking about leadership and development, there's a tendency for people to think that I have everything together all the time. And I was like, no, that is not the case. I'm human like everyone else. I'm learning different things all the time. So I've been more intentional about, okay, this is something that happened. This is something I'm learning, as opposed to these are the key steps for leadership, key steps for communication, which those stuff are important. They're good. But
Yeah.
also let me tell you at a time I failed in my leadership or I failed in my communication, or this is something I'm currently learning. So I think both things are
Yeah.
important.
There's a popular quote, but I heard it a couple of times, or it came across my feed several times, probably for some divine reason. But it really talked about leadership is not a role; it's a mindset. And I think that what I hear you talk about, right? Like, we're not perfect. We don't have it all figured out. And it's not this role that you continue to just, that somebody bestows upon you and crowns you with or
Yeah.
gives you the promotion for, like, you're a leader now. Like,
Yeah.
no, like you step into it, you
Mhm.
embrace it, you embody it. It's a full body, mind, soul experience that you own, and you have to
Mhm.
own that.
Yeah.
And you can own it with grace, and you can own it with humility, and you can own it with
Mhm.
confidence, and you can also own it with a little uncertainty.
Yeah.
There's many times I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't think it means I'm not a leader. Like,
Yeah.
no, there's many times I'm like, should I be doing this? Like, am I really making impact? Like, it's okay to question, and it's
Yeah.
okay not to be
Yes.
perfect. It's
Mhm.
okay not to have it all figured out. And guess what? You're still a leader. Step
Yeah.
into it and own it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely okay not to have everything figured out. There's an aspect of imposter syndrome, which I talk about a lot. And I think
Yes.
the funny thing is with imposter syndrome is I think it affects people who are the high achievers or doing the most. It affects these people the most, even though they are doing everything already. And then people who aren't doing as much don't often feel imposter syndrome. It's kind of funny. You would think it'd be the opposite. But the more you do, I feel like the more likely you are going to feel imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably also the people that hide it the best as well. I mean,
Yeah.
imposter syndrome and your limiting beliefs. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I that is part of the healing work for me too. Is
Mhm.
navigating that, moving through it, and reminding myself of my worth. Um, but I've always been an overachiever, a perfectionist. It was goals and outcomes and results, and like this accolade and that
Yeah.
announcement and this
Yeah.
promotion. That was how I lived so much of my 20s and a little bit of
Mhm.
my 30s. Like,
Mhm.
that's what I thought was important because that's what society structured around me to think was important. Um, and it's like all the while as you're climbing up that ladder and you're moving up and it looks really good, but deep down inside, are you fulfilled? Are you happy? Or you're living this life of like always questioning, like, well, when's the ball going to drop? Like, I got to keep, now I'm on this higher level. I got to be even more on my toes. Like,
Yeah.
I can't let it drop now. I got to keep going and going. You put this pressure on yourself
Yeah.
to imagine, and I know it because I've felt it. I've been there, how exhausting that is. And then you take a moment and you look back, and this is often the people that I work with, and they say, well, what the heck am I doing? Am I really happy? Who am I? Like, what do I want to do? There's like this crossroads. It's like this moment of, whoa, what is going on? What the
Yeah.
F?
Yes.
Um, and those are the moments. Those are really like where I love to come in and work with teams or people, because that's the moment of rest. That's the moment of being reflective. And it's like capitalizing on that moment and really slowing people down and getting them to ask those hard questions, to look in the mirror. It's really hard to look in the mirror and to say, yeah, I haven't been doing what makes me happy. And you know what? I got to own that some of that's on me. That's hard.
Yeah.
But if we don't give ourselves the time to reflect and to pause and to step back, then we'll never be able to really answer those questions. And I think some people are afraid of that. And that's expected. Trust me. I was afraid. So we got to be a little bit more courageous, a little bit more curious, a little bit more playful, a little bit more vulnerable with ourselves as leaders.
That's really good. I think you're honing in on something that is key. And I think that's the reason why we don't reflect a lot, is the fear aspect of it, because we don't know what we're going to find when we reflect. We might find things that we don't like, find things we have to change. But we don't think about it, then we just keep going business as usual.
Yes. Like, you might have been really miserable in your job for 8 years, and it takes that moment of reflecting. And it's not just one moment, right? It's a series of moments. I'm not saying that in 1 hour of like working with someone, it's like, oh, this is all like, it's time
Yeah.
because it's healing work too. And it takes time. But to your point, people don't want to actually say, dang, yeah, I'm only in this job because of the money. Or I'm only in this job because I thought I should take over the family business because that's what my parents, I got to continue taking this on. I have to, I must, I gotta, and so you will find oftentimes you find something about yourself that feels uncomfortable and feels maybe a little scary. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to I actually realize I don't want to do this anymore. So then really there's the awareness, and then it's the what am I going to do about it? And that takes also a lot of courage. It takes, like, trust me, to leave a comfortable 6-figure job. It was like, Brittany, what are you doing? You're going to continue to move up in the ladder. Like, come on, like you can have this job forever. So why don't you just stay? Trust me, every once in a while, I'm like, maybe I should just go back. I don't know. maybe this is the comfy life.
Yeah.
I'm settling, and I wouldn't be fulfilled and happy. And so, yeah, I'm taking a risk, but I'm taking a risk. I'm investing in myself. And that's what keeps me going. And that's what I hope keeps people going, is the knowing that they're choosing themselves. And you can have a plan. I'm not telling everybody to like wake up one day and quit your jobs. Like, no. Have a plan, be intentional about it, but also be brave enough to invest in yourself. Do it. We need more people out here who are living their why and loving their work.
Living their why and loving their work. Yeah, yes. You put that on a t-shirt. I love that.
That's on my website, but you know what? Come through on the merch. What?
Yeah. Do it.
The next evolution of solopreneur consulting.
Yes, you can definitely do it. We can definitely talk after this, because there's ways to do it that's more hands-off if you're interested.
I'm all here for it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've been going for a while. We talked about reflection. That's really been the key of this episode. But is there anything else maybe that you want the listeners to know about you, about what you do, or what we've been talking about before we wrap things up?
I'm just really grateful for this conversation. And I hope that my intention is that people have left this conversation um, seeing themselves as a leader and in whichever way they want that to be. And also understanding that because it's this embracing this mindset, that they should gift themselves the power to slow down. Like soul work is slow work. And
Mhm.
so it's okay to not be running a mile a minute. And for people, because this will be coming out at the top month of 2025, give yourself permission, if when you're listening to this, to not feel like you have to start this year on 100. Like you ain't got to be running 80, 90, 100 miles per hour. You can ease your way and be slow moving into the new year. Don't let society and the clock tell you otherwise. You can have big goals and big dreams that you want to manifest. That's beautiful. But give yourself the month, first quarter, whatever it is, to just also be a little bit more still and a little bit more slow. Like, gift yourself. That is what I hope people can also take away from this, and just finding moments to plan for reflection for your team, for yourself, for your family, for your partner. Like, give yourself time to rest, give yourself time to reflect.
Wow. Yeah, there's really nothing I can add to that. That was so well put. I love that. Well, I want to make sure people know how to stay connected with you, whether it's your socials or website. If you can share that.
Yes. So please head to our website, www.thesoulempire.com. Thesoulempire.com. I was like, wait, yeah, make sure I say that.
Yeah.
And, take a look, find some time to hop on our calendar and chat a little bit more about what's in store, whether you are a small business owner, whether you are somebody who is in corporate, if you're looking for brand, marketing, communication strategy, if you're looking for project management, or if you're looking for leadership coaching and development for yourself, or for your teams, reach out. Like, just take that first step. And then you can also follow us on LinkedIn. It's Brittany Johnson. There's lots of Brittany Johnson. So if you type in Solopreneur Consulting, I will come up. I would go that route versus the Brittany Johnsons. You're going to find a lot of us. It's a popular 80s baby name. It's not my
Yeah.
fault. Um,
Yeah.
and then on Instagram actually I changed it. It's soulpreneur_life. Soulpreneur
Okay.
life. It's probably only one of me out there as well. So yeah, I changed it. I was like, oh crap, hold on. So yeah, those are all the ways. Instagram, website, LinkedIn, connect. I would love to be able to set up a conversation as we start off the 2025 year and just chat, see what's in store for you. So thank you again, Paul, for having me on here. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited for you. We connected last year through the Colors of Her Success, and I see you as somebody who is just owning your leadership and stepping into so many great spaces and making great content and conversations like this. So I am wishing you a year of abundance as well.
Thank you so much. It's funny that you said that, because that's actually it's my word for the year is
Hi.
abundance. So that is just confirmation right there, because I haven't told anyone that was my word for the year. That
I
is.
love it. I love it. Listen, it's a great word. It's a powerful, powerful word.
Mhm.
So may there be abundance and beyond for you this year.
Gosh, I know. I appreciate you taking the time to be on this show to share your wisdom, your story, and this whole concept of being still and really reflecting and being purposeful, being soulful with all the stuff you do with Soulpreneur. That I know from the listeners returning to you, like when you're listening or watching this, that you learned something from Brittany's story, what we've shared about so far, whether it's going back to the drawing board, whether it's figuratively or literally, that's something that you need to do, or just questioning what you are doing. If it's something that you really like to do, if you don't like to do it, or you're just learning to like different aspects of your job. I think there's different things, and really having a plan, like you mentioned, to if you want to go into entrepreneurship. I mean, you can't just go full force, but I think it's good to have a plan always. But
What?
I think that you're doing, like you mentioned, definitely a lot of key things that you shared that definitely encourage the listeners to connect with you, because that is one way that they can keep being incredible.
Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'll see you here next time. And be incredible. Incredible.